Hello, in this video we are going to discuss about adverbs. From the name itself is clear that adverb is add plus verb. That means it tells something about a verb. Just like adjective describes about the noun in a sentence or a pronoun. Adverb tells or modifies the verb, the action words, the verbs in a sentence. So adverbs are words that modify a verb, adjective or another adverb in a sentence. Okay, let's see some examples first before discussing its types and how they are used. Let's have a look at some examples. She sang loudly. How did she sing? She sang loudly. We left it here. Where did you leave it? Here. I worked yesterday. When? Yesterday. You often make mistakes. When? How often? Frequency. Often. He undoubtedly did it. Undoubtedly. She sleeps peacefully on the living room floor. How does she sleep? Peacefully. The bus moved slowly. How did the bus move? Slowly. The bears ate greedily. How did the bears eat? Greedily. The car drove fast. How did the car drive? Fast. Now what exactly happens is adverbs actually answer some questions. Which questions? How, when, where, why, to what extent, like how much or how often. These questions about the verb, about the action happening in that sentence. Let's go ahead and discuss about this in detail and discuss the types of adverbs. So adverbs typically express the manner, place, time, frequency, degree or level of certainty of the verb. They answer questions like how, in what way, when, where or to what extent in the questions. Adverb actually is derived from a Latin word that's adverbium, where it means to add some meaning to a verb. It's a broad collection of words. So let's discuss the types of adverb. First is the adverb of time. Adverb of time tells us when something is done or happens. We use it at the beginning or end of the sentence. We use adverb of time, this word, as a form of emphasis when we place it in the beginning, or we use it at the end as well. Some examples are afterwards, already, always, immediately, last month, now, soon, then, yesterday, all these words. For example, he came yesterday. I have heard this before. These are adverbs which tell about the time, that when. Adverbs of manner. Adverbs of manner tell us in which manner the action occurs or how the action occurs or has occurred or will occur. Some examples are badly, sadly, all these kind which tell about the manner. Usually the adverbs of manner end with ly. She speaks loudly. How does she speak? Loudly. He was driving slowly. You replied correctly. It usually answers the question how. Okay. Next is the adverb of place. Adverb of place is the word which shows the place of action or where the action occurs or have occurred or will occur. Like here, there, near, somewhere, outside, ahead, on the top. It actually tells us about the place where something is done or something happens. We use it after the verb or the object or at the end of the sentence. For example, he will come here. The children are playing outside. It usually answers the question where. Adverbs of frequency, they change or qualify the meaning of the sentence by telling us how often or how frequently something happens. The adverb of frequency is exactly what it sounds, the adverb of time. It tells how many times the action has occurred or will occur or occurs. In some words, the adverbs tell us about the exact frequency, for example, daily, weekly, yearly, Or in some words, it doesn't specify an exact time frame, like sometimes, often, rarely. Okay? So some examples are daily, sometimes, often, seldom, usually, frequently, always. The employees are paid monthly. He is always late for the class. So this usually answers the question when. The next is the adverb of degree or quantity. Adverb of degree tells us the level or extent that something is done or happens. Like almost, much, nearly, quite, really, slow. Her daughter is quite fat for her age. Quite. The accident victim nearly died from his injuries. Nearly. It usually answers the question how much. Quite. Now, intensifiers. This is actually not a very main type of adverb. This is actually kind of a usage of adverb in a sentence. Intensifiers are those words which actually just add some extra stress to the action, like absolutely, certain, completely, heartily, really. He certainly went to their house, certainly. Surely you are mistaken. They just add the stress to the work that's happening. Okay? Now let's discuss about how adverbs are formed. Adverbs are primarily formed from adjectives. We've already discussed about adjectives in the video regarding adjectives. Please go through that video to have a clear understanding about adjectives. Adjectives are the words which tell about a noun. They describe the noun, the mannerism or noun, the qualities of noun, about noun. Now what happens is, if mostly to the adjectives, if we add ly at the end of the adjective, they become adverbs. Not to all of them, mostly. For example, she had a quick walk. So quick over here is an adjective. What kind of walk? Walk is a noun. So quick is what kind of a walk? That is adjective. So we convert quick to quickly by adding ly. She walked quickly. How did she walk? Now walked is verb. So how did she walk? Quickly. So this becomes adverb. She is wearing a beautiful dress. Dress is a noun. What kind of dress? Beautiful dress. That becomes adjective. So we just add ly. She is dressed beautifully. So now over here, dressed, and how is she dressed? Beautifully. Adverb. Okay. So usually if an adjective is ending with able or able, or for an instance with le, what we do is we change the e to y and it becomes horrible becomes horribly. If the adjective ends with y, we just change y to ily. For example, happy becomes happily. If the adjective ends with ic, we change it to ically. That means economic becomes economically. These are just examples. There are a wide variety of words. However, as I mentioned, that not all of them, not all of the adjectives go by this rule that you add ly and it gets converted to adverbs. For example, fast, always, still, yesterday. These are some adverbs which are not converted from adjectives in the same rule. Let's see some more examples. Adverbs sometimes also are the same identical words as adjectives. We don't add ly to all of them. Some of them come as it is. For example, he found the exam quite hard. How was the exam? Now over here, hard tells us about the exam. Exam is a noun. So hard is an adjective. It tells the exam was hard. He didn't try hard. How much did he try? Try is a verb. So over here, how much did he try? Hard. That becomes adverb. You did a good job. Over here, good is adjective. You smell good. How do you smell? That's describing a verb. That is adverb. Are you an early riser? Riser over here is a noun. What kind of riser? Early riser. So that becomes adjective. We started early. When did we start? That tells about the process of starting. That becomes adverb. Okay. Many adverbs are compounds of preposition and noun or preposition and adjective. So, for example, besides, thereby. It's a combination of two words, there and by. Therefore, thereafter, henceforward, overboard, asleep, away, allowed, without. There are a lot of adverbs which are combination of words. For example, let's see some sentences. I have no other friend besides Rohini. Besides over here is an adverb. I had fallen asleep. Asleep over here is an adverb. Now let's discuss where exactly in a sentence can we place adverbs. Adverbs can be placed at the beginning of the sentence. They add extra stress to the doer of the action if we place them in the beginning. For example, sometimes she gives me a lift to work. When? Only sometimes. Fortunately, we did not have to deal with him. Fortunately. When we add the adverbs at the beginning, they actually add some extra stress. Adverbs can also be added after the auxiliary verb, that means the helping verb, and before the main verb, like between the helping verb and the main verb. For example, we do occasionally go swimming. Over here, it's between do and go. The movie had already commenced when we arrived. Had and commenced. Had is the helping verb, commenced is the main verb. It's between that. So this placement actually indicates the exact time. It's usually used for adverbs of time. After the auxiliary verb, that is used as the main verb. Sometimes in some sentences, the auxiliary verb is actually the main verb. That's a state of being. In that case, also, the adverbs are used after the auxiliary verb. Like, she is always quick to point out other people's faults. How much quick? Always. He was incredibly lucky to clear the exam. Incredibly. How much lucky? Incredibly lucky. Here they do not actually explain about an verb of the sentence because it's just a helping verb, but about the action that's happening after the helping verb. Adverbs are also used before the main verb in case there is no helping verb. For example, she reluctantly agreed to his invitation. Reluctantly. How did she agree? Reluctantly. Your uncle accidentally knocked my vase of fresh flowers over. How did he knock? Accidentally. Adverbs are also used after the main verb. If there is no helping verb or auxiliary verb, they can be used after the main verb also. Like, they dressed beautifully for the party. Brittany looked carefully at the antique before she bought it. And adverbs can also be used at the end of the sentence. Like, my cousin fell and hurt her leg badly. How did she hurt her leg? Badly. Kavita does not pronounce my name correctly. How she doesn't pronounce the name correctly. Now what happens is, wherever you use the adverb in the sentence, it actually changes the person or the action on which you have to give stress in that sentence. For example, it rains only on Monday. If I use this sentence, it means that it rains only on Monday, not on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, only on Monday. But if I say it only rains on Monday, in that case, it would mean that it only rains. It doesn't thunder. It only rains on Monday. So it depends on where you are placing the adverb and to where it will change the meaning of the sentence and the stress that is to be applied on which word. Okay? So please use the adverb correctly at correct place regarding the usage, regarding the stress that you have to put in that sentence. Now we'll study the comparison of adverbs. Like adjectives, adverbs also are classified in three types: positive, that means absolute form, comparative, and superlative. The absolute form generally describes a verb like you speak loudly. How do you speak loudly? Comparative form compares between two things or two actions. Superlative form compares between three or more things or three or more actions. Like, you speak more loudly than a loudspeaker. More loudly. Why do you have to speak the most loudly of all at the meeting? Now over here as well, in comparative, you add more, and in superlative you add most. Now in comparative, ER is also added, EST is also added. How does this differ? Is the same as an adjective, that is on the basis of syllable. What exactly is a syllable? Syllable is the sound, the speech of the sound. In English alphabet, there are vowels and consonant. What are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U. So the sounds created by these 5 vowels like a, all these sounds are vowel sounds. In any word, when there is a vowel sound, it will be one syllable. So whatever number of vowel sounds are there in each word, it has that many syllables. It may be surrounded by consonant sounds or maybe not. That is not a mandate, but you just have to count the number of vowel sounds. That would that will make you determine that which word, or that will help you determine what would be added to the adverb to make it comparative or superlative, whether ER or more or EST or most. The adverbs with one syllable, we add ER at the end for comparative and EST at the end for superlative. The adverbs that end with ly or the ones which have 3 or more syllables, we add more in comparative and most in superlative. Let's see some examples. Early becomes earlier and earliest. It does. Fast becomes faster and fastest. Hard becomes harder and hardest. Now let's see the next word. Angrily. It has 3 syllables. Angrily. Now over here it ends with ly as well. So what we do is more angrily, most angrily. Brightly, more brightly, most brightly. Gladly, more gladly, most gladly. Heavily, more heavily, most heavily. Now there are some adverbs as well which do not follow these rules. They are irregular when talking about comparative and superlative. For example, badly becomes worse or worst. Far becomes farther and farthest. Far also becomes further in case we are talking about more, addition. And furthest, little becomes less and least. Much or many becomes more and most. Well becomes better and best. Okay. Now let's see some more examples and try to understand which things are to be kept in mind while making these degree of adverbs. The tree is more taller than the giraffe. The tree is taller than the giraffe. Now over here, the same thing. Taller is already a comparative form. Then more should not be added to it. It's double comparative. So double comparatives or double superlatives should not be used. Either use ER or either use more, depending on the rules, the syllables, and what is the exact conversion of that adverb. Roses smell sweet. Roses smell sweetly. Which would be correct? Now what happens is, in the words, or should I say in the verb, in which there is no direct action, that is just a feeling, a sense. In that case, the adverbs should not be added with ly. For example, when we are talking about taste, smell, look or feel, which pertain to senses, then the adverb would not have an ly in the end. Then it will be a normal word. For example, roses smell sweet. This would be correct. Sweetly would not be correct, because smell is a sense. You don't actually do it. Let's see one more example. The woman looked angry. The woman looked angrily. Now over here as well, look is a sense. You don't actually do some action. So angry would be correct. Here we use the same words as adjectives. You don't add ly to it. But yes, if you tell the object, if you tell the final person on which the action is happening, in that case you can use ly. For example, the woman looked angrily at the paint splotches. Where did she look? At the paint splotches. Now you've given a direction, a closing to this action. So then you can use ly. Let's see the next one. She spoke quicker than he did. She spoke more quickly than he did. Now there is a word quick. That is an adjective, you made it an adverb. So when we make it an adverb, it becomes quickly. Since it ends with ly, you won't add er at the end. What you would do, you would add more. So when you add more, you won't drop the ly. So which is correct? More quickly. It's not quicker, because the adverb of quick is quickly. You don't drop the ly to make it a comparative form in an adverb. Some adverbs reflect different meanings for some words by adding ly. For example, Rama works hard. Over here it tells that he works hard. How does he work? Hard. I could hardly recognize him. Now over here, look at the meaning. Hard means more work and efficient work. Hardly means that not to a exact quantity, very less. Now here the meaning has changed to a vast level. He arrived late. Late means time was late. I have not seen him lately. Here lately means since a long time. You are the most beautiful woman on earth. Most means the extreme most. My friends are mostly non-smokers. Mostly over here means most of them. So some adverbs change their meanings to a great level when you add ly. So you have to be very cautious while adding ly and using them in sentences. Sometimes certain adverbs seem to be used as adjectives. They look like adjectives, but they are adverbs. A down train. Down train is the train that's going downwards. So down train, over down here would be an adverb. The above statement. It actually means the statement stated above. So above would be an adverb because it shows that action that is stated above. Okay. Many a times two adverbs are joined by a conjunction and they become one adverb phrase. Conjunction actually is a word that joins two sentences or that joins two clauses or phrases to make it an easy sentence to avoid the repetition of words. For example, once and again, off and on, over and over. Let's see some examples in sentences. I warned him again and again. I write to him now and then. Now and then means every now and then, very frequently. He scored over and above his expectations. That means very high. He was walking to and fro in fury. So these are when the adverbs are a combination of two or three words that are joined together. Some groups of adverbs serve the same function as adverbs, like they become adverb clauses. They are groups. They are not one, two or three words. They are a group of words. For example, unless you run fast, you will miss the train. This answers the question, when will you miss the train unless you run fast? So this whole part is an adverb clause. Give us a call when you get back from your trip. When do you want me to give us a call? When you get back from the trip. This whole words, these whole group of words are adverb clause. The fireworks show will start after the sun goes down. When will it start? After the sun goes down. This whole is an adverb clause. He hasn't got any friends. He has got no friends. Now mostly people use this one. He has got no friends. But a lot of times I've also heard this. He hasn't got any friends. This is wrong. Why? Because hasn't also is negative and any also is negative. So we have to make sure we don't use two negatives in the same sentence because they cancel out each other. So two negatives should not be used in the same sentence. It has to be he has got no friends. Now let's have a look at some sentences and let's find out the errors and correct them. He never is late for school. Over here, is is being used, that is only a helping verb, and never explains about late, that how much late, never. So never should be placed here. In the sentences which have is, am, are, was, were, these kind of helping verbs, the adverb is placed after the helping verb because it actually is telling about the action that is explained after the helping verb. Okay, so the correct one would be, he is never late for school. It tells about late. How much late? Never late. She is very much beautiful. Now the expression very much and very many are not used, are rarely used actually in affirmative sentences, in simple plain positive sentences. They are used in questions or negatives. Much and very, when we use together, they can be used in questions or negatives but not in plain sentences. So what we say, she is very beautiful. We don't use much. I managed to do it anyhow. Now anyhow is a negative word. It means disorder, in disorder. You have anyhow can also mean for certain, like he may not win but anyhow I shall. So what we use here is somehow, not anyhow. It's a negative word in that case. Before long, there was no one there. Now before long will not be used here because we can use ago. We use before to count from a past moment, not from current. Where we can use ago because ago means counting from right now, now. Before long also means soon. So long ago, there was no one there. This story is too interesting. Now over here, too. Too means more than it ought to be. The story has to be interesting. It is too interesting. So it has a negative meaning actually. That means if we can say he is too fat, that means whatever he should be, he is more than that. So that has a negative meaning. We shouldn't use this word where we want to tell something in positive sense. So what we say is, the story is very interesting. So we use the word very in that case. He sings good. Over here, sings good. To modify the verb sings, we have to use an adverb. Good is an adjective. It's not an adverb. So what we say is, he sings well. If I wanted to say he is a good singer, that would be correct because over there good is an adjective which is telling about the singer. Singer is a noun. Really speaking, she isn't very brilliant. Now over here, really speaking should not be used because really speaking is not the correct form of verb how it should be used. What we can use is, in fact, she isn't very brilliant because you're telling a fact. Really should be used in the middle of the sentence where we're telling about some verb. He lives miserly. Miserly actually is an adjective. Sometimes to modify the verb, we use adjectives as well in the form of adverbs. But in that case, we add ly to the end. Now over here, what we should say, he lives in a miserly way. Over here, it's not used correctly. We have to add it to the sentence. He lives in a miserly way. For example, the adjectives like costly, deadly, friendly, there are no adverbs to it. We can't make it an adverb. Costly can't be costly, or cowardly can't be cowardly. So some adjectives cannot be converted to adverbs like that. He was very foolish enough to trust her. Now over here, enough. We've already said very foolish. Why do we need to use enough over here? Enough cannot be modified by very. So what we should say is, he was too foolish to trust her, or he was foolish enough to trust her. We can't use very and enough at the same place. Okay? I hope after this video, you will be clear with the concepts of adverbs and how to use the correct form of adverb in correct location. Thank you.